So a lot of people been emailing me about this particular story, and I thought this is a good story, and it's very, very interesting at the same time. So it's about Byron Allen. Now, anyone know about Byron Allen? He's the brother that owns the Weather Channel, and he owns a lot of properties in television. Well, he has a lawsuit against Comcast for shutting out, black business. Okay. Now you have to understand, in America, they could tell you all day, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They'll tell you that. But when you do pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and when you're making headway and you're doing very good, they try to sabotage you. That is a big thing that constantly happens. This is why I tell us, do business here in America, do it. But also do business on the continent, do business in the Caribbean, do business all over the world. Because not everybody's going to try to sabotage you. But let's focus on Mr. Byron Allen. Al Sharpton's name been thrown around. The Urban League, the NAACP, which are organizations that are not for the everyday black man and black woman of America. Because where do you see them doing anything? They're a bunch of shucking and jiving boule members. That's all they are at the end of the day. Now, I want to show you a interview that Byron Allen conducted back in 2015. Now, Obama was still president back then, and he was on CNN. I want you to hear how he talks about Al Sharpton, because Al Sharpton has been doing exactly what Byron Allen is going to be talking about. Let me roll you this clip.
The cable industry, AT&T, DirecTV, Comcast, Time Warner, they spent about $50 billion a year licensing cable networks and advertising, with less than $3 million per year going to 100% African American owned media. Now what they do is they make token donations to people like Al Sharpton, the NAACP, the Urban League, and after taking those donations, they negotiated a fraudulent MOU that says this is okay for black people to live by. What America needs to understand is that Al Sharpton does not speak for me. Al Sharpton does not speak for black people. It's like I ask people, who is the white person who speaks for you? It's racist to even believe that Al Sharpton is the go-to person. Shame on you, Sony, for thinking sit down with Al Sharpton and that negates your racist emails about President Obama. So it's real simple. These token donations they make to him, as reported in the New York Post, allows them to have racial cover. This is why we're not getting enough advertising or any advertising from McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Chrysler and General Motors and AT&T. They don't spend any money with African American owned media. Something that's very alarming, AT&T spent more money on Al Sharpton's lavish 60th birthday than they spent on Ebony magazine, the biggest African American magazine in America, around 70 years, 10 million readers per month. AT&T spent only $30,000 on that magazine. Walmart has given money to Al Sharpton. Walmart doesn't spend any money in Ebony magazine, and they barely do business with me in a long-term partnership, and I'm constantly going back and forth with Walmart and Chrysler as well. So he is the least expensive Negro. Don't really do business with real African-American-owned companies.
Something like that sound. I mean, when you say that about Al Sharpton, are you saying he's
the numbers are actual. The numbers are just follow the money. Don't do business with real African-American owned companies. Just make a token. Give him $50,000 and a bucket of chicken, and we're good. We won't have any problems with real African-American owned media. You should not be Chrysler. You shouldn't be giving him money and not spending money with me and others like me and Stevie Wonder's radio station here in Los Angeles.
But aren't you trying to shake them down the same way by filing this lawsuit, which you know is not going to succeed?
No. Brian, let's define a shakedown. He doesn't give anything in return. I am a legitimate businessman. I am one of the largest independent producers of television and media in the world. I have 36 television shows on the air and 7 24-hour HD networks. They're not letting us participate in the $50 billion that they spend on licensing and advertising. There's a very big difference. He's the shakedown. I'm the legitimate entrepreneur. We have to make sure
we're
that...
showing some of your programs right now, but let me read Comcast's response. I think it's really important to hear their side here. They say this complaint represents nothing more than a string of inflammatory, inaccurate, and unsupported allegations. We are proud of our outstanding record supporting and fostering diverse programming. They went on to say we will defend vigorously against the scurrilous allegations in this complaint, and we fully expect that the court will dismiss them. Now, Sharpton has not commented on the record. Do you have a question for him or a thing you'd like him to address about this?
No, Al Sharpton's not that. He's not important. He's nothing more than a black pawn in a very sophisticated white economic chess game. He's being used by his white masters at Comcast and AT&T. He just needs to shut up and get in the bleachers. What we have to do is get these corporations to understand you must include African-American owned media. We have to stop the financial genocide against the black community.
I mean, you understand how offensive this all sounds to someone like Al Sharpton.
Well, you know, I'm not worried about his feelings. I'm more focused on getting corporate America to understand it's time to do business with us. And President Obama has been bought and paid for. He has taken donations from Comcast. Comcast is his biggest contributor. AT&T is one of his biggest contributors. Listen, Obama, your own FTC is investigating AT&T for throttling. How can you even consider them to buy DirecTV when you're suing them? Is it because you took donations? Yes, Obama. Don't even think about letting them merge until they settle this lawsuit and that lawsuit. Comcast got caught. Well, let me, Brian, this is important.
Your main issues here are about the mergers, Comcast, Time Warner Cable, and AT&T DirecTV.
No, Brian, let me be clear. My main issue is about economic inclusion for African Americans. You know, Comcast deployed software that slowed down video over the web in 2008. They broke federal laws. That's like me robbing a bank and then after I get out on probation saying I want to be the president of the bank. Obama has to do more. I'm very proud of what Obama has done for the gay community. I'm very proud that he has achieved gay marriage. And if you can do that, you can achieve economic inclusion for all Americans, especially African Americans who have been left the furthest behind. Obama, you bailed out the banks. The banks you bailed out don't even make commercial loans to African Americans. Obama, you bailed out the car companies. Those car companies don't advertise with people like me and people like Ebony Magazine. Obama controls close to $2 billion in advertising. Join the Army, join the Navy, join the Marines.
It sounds like
we as African Americans do not receive.
No, he said about Al Sharpton about the $50,000 in a bucket of chicken. I thought that was funny. That was funny, but that's the truth. People like Al Sharpton have been strong-arming corporations for a very, very long time, okay? Al Sharpton be like, look, and I've heard this from people outside of our community in business talking about how Al Sharpton move around. He'd be like, well, look, you know, we'll protest and shut this down. No, man, can you not do that? And they cut Al Sharpton a check, and then he holds the people back. So he is basically kind of small, extorting them a little bit. It's not illegal extortion, because extortion is illegal. But in another instance, you are extorting corporations because basically you're telling them, well, look, you know, I mean, we go ride down on you. What you gonna do about this? That's how. And then they pay the money, and then you go away. That's what don't make you righteous, because you could be bought. Al Sharpton been bought and paid for a very long time. We all know this, okay? When it comes to this case, Byron Allen has been talking about how the Urban League and the NAACP, how they have Comcast members on their board. They don't care about, but how is it you have an organization supposed to be for the empowerment of black people, but yet you got people from Comcast on the board and they're not even black people, and you don't see them in the community doing anything? They are collecting money from these corporations. All of them are, these Boule members, all of them. And then they say, forget the brother and sister that's hurting out there. You can look at them. They're not a hair out of place with these black folk. Now, Byron Allen, he won his case against Comcast, NBC Universal, twice in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, he won based on a law, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which states there's a prohibition against racial discrimination in contracting. Okay, so he went all the way back and got that law, and he won in the Ninth Circuit. Now Comcast wants to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. And they're banking, well, you know, we got Trump up there and he kind of stacking the court. So we probably can win up there at the Supreme Court. That's why I go up there. Now, all this talk about fake news, this fake news, that I've seen the tweets that Trump called NBC, you know, the biggest fake news out of all of them. He don't like NBC, but it's quite funny how they click up together real quick against a black man. Now, let me tell you something that my grandfather taught me long time ago. He told me, he said, son, 2 white sheets don't fade on another. Remember that. So I looked at him and I said, well, what does that mean? He said, what that means is if you see white people arguing, it don't matter if they trying to kill each other. Do not put yourself in it and don't think that they won't throw their mess aside and team up against you. Because at the end of the day, you the one they got an issue with. Now, Donald Trump, all the fake news talk that he does constantly, yet his Justice Department sides with fake news to go against Byron Allen. And I saw people bringing up the fact about his wife, because his wife is Caucasian. In the system of racism and white supremacy, they don't care if your wife Caucasian, Asian, Hispanic, Arab, black. They don't care about anything you got going on with your wife. If you trying to make headway as a black man, they coming at you. They don't care. And that's what we have to pay attention to, because I see people getting distracted with because, like, look, if you don't agree with it, that's your business. Don't you do it. That's his life. As long as he ain't not out here shucking and jiving, I don't see the brother doing that. The brother actually taking them to task on a Civil Rights Act of 1866. And this is an important case, because if they can roll back civil rights and this prohibition against racial discrimination and contracting, that's going to set us even further back. Understand that. Now, the Supreme Court, they're trying to decide if a certain way to do it. Byron Allen is saying that they're perverting a key provision of the law that protects black businesses at a time when black people were under heightened attack. So they say all for what Comcast says is in his best financial interest. I'm reading what he wrote here. He said, while it is not unusual for big corporations to defend itself in court, he said what makes this case different is a stark contrast between Comcast and how it presents itself to viewers, and subscribers, on the other hand, how it presents itself to a U.S. Supreme Court. So basically, you know, MSNBC, oh, we so diverse. We care about racism issues. We talk about white nationalists. We do all this, but yet the parent company is being against a so-called black person, and they're using basically racism to fight against them and joining with the white supremacist chief and his DOJ. The same white supremacist chief's DOJ just sent an email to immigration judges linking them to a white nationalist website. That came out the other day. Yes. And the judges were very offended by that they done this. I mean, this same white supremacist Trump administration, because that's exactly what it is. So Comcast had declined to carry any programming from Byron Allen's Entertainment Studios channels. OK, and instead they carried a similarly themed lower quality channels that were not owned by black people. So Byron Allen also alleged that a Comcast executive explained that decision by saying, we don't need any more Bob Johnsons. Now, that's a reference to African-American billionaire founder of the cable network BET. Understand something. That statement is powerful. We don't need any more Bob Johnsons. That in itself tells you how they think. They don't want to see another brother come up there and become a billionaire off of media. They don't want to see it. Not at all. And they feel that if he gets on here, he probably gonna start creating programming and become a billionaire. See, they are the biggest pocket watchers ever. They pocket watch so heavy on what another brother's doing. They would have said that about any other white guy that wanted to do this. Oh, we don't want the next Rupert Murdoch. We don't want the next Les Moonves. We don't want that, right? No, we don't want that. But they'll say we don't want the next Bob Johnson. Everything that happens in this country is under racism and white supremacy. See, it's levels to racism and white supremacy. Yeah, you got those, the Trump supporters, or you have the white nationalists. No. It goes all the way up. It's no spectrum of the financial scale that you can get to. You would not deal with white supremacy. You're going to deal with it on just different levels. Based on everything here, Byron Allen saying race is a motivating factor. When you hear a statement that says we don't need any more Bob Johnsons, that's enough for me to say right there. So his case is going to the Supreme Court, and they won't accept defeat. Now, he's suing for $20 billion. That's what he's suing for. And now let's see what the Supreme Court do with this. Let's see. Because they have to, they're supposed to interpret the law and don't allow discrimination. They have to do that. Look at the news. How many black people do you see even running news shows? And then the ones they did have, they purged them all out right before Obama got out of office. That's that same MSNBC. Joy Reid is about the only one that's hanging on. They got Al on there. But you know what Byron Allen said about Al and why he's on there, even with low ratings. I mean, Al Sharpton's show, it's not a good show. But the thing is, Byron Allen is a problem for them. Now, why don't we see the brothers like Robert Smith and Bob Johnson joining with this brother? And maybe they are behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't want to say they're not. But they should join with this brother because this can affect them. And anytime we're trying to make headway as brothers in this country or sisters in this country, we got to be concerned and have to fight every step of the way. OK, don't let these people take your things that you fought for away from you. It don't matter if it come from 1866 or 1967 or 65. Don't let them take it, because the way it works is if you allow a government to take something, you never get it back, especially if it's a right, a privilege, or a freedom. Don't let them do it. So we in the black community need to pay attention to this case. We need to make sure that Comcast need to play fair, because Comcast is joining up with Donald Trump. They're joining up with the white supremacist in chief himself that says so much racist things about everyone. Now they accusing Donald Trump of being an anti-Semite now because he just said Jews that don't vote a Republican, they disloyal. So now they calling him anti-Semite. So Trump been called everything in the book. And Comcast is going to join with the administration that, said there's good people on both sides when he's talking about white supremacists at Charlottesville. This is the same people Comcast is joining with that he said about African nations are poop hole countries. You understand? The same guy that talked about Haitians had AIDS. Yes, he did. That same article said that too. The same guy that now says he wants indefinite detention for children on the border. That guy. This guy that just recently looked up into the air and said he was the chosen one. Like I guess he feel he's chosen by God. So Comcast is joining with his administration to go against a black man. Pay attention. Now, Comcast need to hear about this from the community. It's you joining with Trump against this man because he wants you to play fair. They need to settle with this brother and let him have some channels on there, because you say, well, why don't he create his own? Well, the thing is, Byron Allen don't own a Comcast. He don't own an AT&T. These ISPs also. I mean, it's kind of sold up, and you need a lot of capital behind you to even get to that point. But you have to be fair in your business dealings. That's why you have laws on the books where you can't discriminate. And also, they need to kind of break up some of these companies anyway with some of these monopoly laws. Now, even with another white person themselves, Michael Bloomberg, and he's a billionaire, he had to sue Comcast for violating the FCC order requiring Comcast to compete lawfully and place Bloomberg News Channel in the same lineup as Comcast's own business channel, CNBC. And as a broadband provider, Comcast has deployed technology to slow competitors' video over the internet. like such as Netflix, and were caught by the FCC. Rather than reform their behavior, Comcast sued the U.S. government. You understand? So Comcast been having a lot of dirty dealings, even with other white corporations as well. They don't want to play fair with anybody, but especially you joining up with Trump to come against Byron Allen. That says a lot. That says a whole lot. So with that being said, let's make sure we follow that case. And you need to let Comcast know, stop playing with the racism, because you're being racist, especially joining with Trump against this man. You're being racist. It's all there is to it. It went past y'all just doing a Supreme Court case. Now it's something about racism and white supremacy, because anybody that links up with Trump in business to go against another black man, it shows that how they have no problem trying to destroy and not allow us to compete fairly in an open market, which hurts us at the end of the day. Now, many people may say, well, Byron Allen got money. Even if he lose, he good. Yeah, but it's going to affect you, though. See, Byron Allen, he may have some money, but you trying to get to that point, it sets a precedent that you can't even get capital. You have a hard time getting capital now for business as black people. Trust me, I know. That's why I say we need to be global, because capital opens up big time when you become global versus pigeonholing yourself to this country. But we got to pay attention to this. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this particular story. But Comcast joining with Donald Trump says a lot. I'm going to repeat that again. It says a lot how they feel about black people, and everything they say on MSNBC. And when they're talking about racism, is a bunch of BS. Because you go join racism to be against a black man, but you selling it on TV like, oh, we just so much about equality. It's a bunch of fake news, just like a Trump would say.